Welcome. I'm Barbara Marcum, the Director of Senior Resources for the City of Westland. With me today is Chris Schott, who is now in the midst of turning over what was Marquette House to Westland House. I think it's really important that people know Marquette House has been around for a long time. There have been, lots of improvements. I went over and saw what you're doing with the property. Totally impressed, and you're going to fill me in on some of the things I didn't see. But let's talk first about you, about your background, and why did you decide to go into senior housing?
Well, in all honesty, it really wasn't much of a decision. My grandparents were in the skilled nursing business back in the 50s. And my parents took the business over in the early 80s and moved on into the assisted living side. Okay. This is in Florida. And actually, I lived in one of the assisted livings with my parents from 9 till 14.
So you had a lot of experience with being around seniors.
It was trial by fire, right?
Yeah, right.
So I was, a lot of help, calling bingo, serving food, and growing up in a family that served seniors, it just naturally happened. I've spent time working in the big corporate side, the smaller private side, and I gravitate back to the smaller private side because we are able to do a lot more, I think, and I have a lot more autonomy to make decisions to better the lives and better the systems and procedures and things that we do at the community level for the seniors and for the staff. So, I really like where I'm at right now.
It's funny you should say, because when I was a kid, after church on Sunday, I would ride my bicycle over to the convalescence center, which was about a mile away from my house through a neighborhood, but I would go and I had friends there. And here I was, 6th grade. I'm probably thinking, oh, here comes that kid again. But I had all my friends there, and I don't know why. I loved going there, and when I went into gerontology, it wasn't a big, it was just something that I always loved. So I think having that heart for a vocation is so important. And when you shouldn't be in anything senior if you clearly don't like people who are older. I loved it.
Yeah.
You do too.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, let's talk then about acquiring Marquette House, which is now Westland House, located right across from John Glenn High School. It is an assisted living. So let's talk first about the difference between independent living and assisted living.
Sure. So independent living, is basically what it says, right? These people are very independent. If they want to, they cook for themselves, they drive themselves to the store, the doctor. Independent living really is more about having people around in case something does happen. They can notify EMT or whoever, or, maybe these people would like to have their meals prepared for them. Usually in independent living, you'll get 1, maybe 2 meals a day.
Some choices, maybe.
Right, and then housekeeping, so that they're not having to go down the basement stairs to do laundry and things like that. But other than any kind of care or anything like that, as far as clinical care, usually, really isn't. It doesn't happen in independent living.
They're pretty much have an apartment.
Yeah, they have an apartment, but there's people around in case something does happen, kind of thing,
and I think as people get older, and I can tell you, I was over, even in college, a dormitory thing. I've always loved to be around people. I'm a people person. Sometimes, people are more, they like seclusion and they want to be, by themselves and living in their own home. But I'm not that person at all. Like, I just look at assisted living or even independent living as like a dormitory for older people. Okay, keep my door open. Hey, how are you? I'm just that type of person. So I can see where going into an apartment with other seniors living there is very comfortable for a lot of people. That would be me. Okay, so as we get older, though, there are some things that happen, And let's talk about what ADLs are. So we know what those are, but they're activities of daily living, and what are those activities?
So those activities are things like bathing and grooming, showering and such. Toileting, making sure that they're eating 3 meals a day, even walking, ambulating, and moving around.
Dressing themselves.
Right, getting to the doctors, ordering medication, pretty much anything that someone would do throughout their day of activities, really.
Yes. Activities of daily living.
Correct, right.
Now, sometimes they are unable to do one or more of them.
Mm-hmm.
So then, what kind of, like if we look at assisted living, what kind of population should look at going into assisted living rather than independent living?
Well, folks that need help with medication management. A lot of times family members are having to go by and set up pill boxes, pick up the meds, go set up pill boxes, and then go home and take care of their family and feed their kids.
And then come back and make sure mom call and say, Mom, did you take your medication?
Exactly.
Or no, I forgot to do that. Or then there's a crisis that comes up and mom didn't take the medication.
Right.
Yeah, it could be an issue.
That's where we come in, and as people get older, it is more difficult, and it's actually scary to some people to get in the shower frequently, because the shower can be a dangerous place when you're alone, and you have balance issues and things like that.
Most accidents happen in the kitchen and bathroom.
Right. Exactly. So that's another thing that assisted living provides, if needed, is not necessarily somebody in the shower with you making you feel uncomfortable or anything like that, but just someone maybe in the room to make sure that if anything happens, they're there to assist, right? Or set up, put the bathrobe out so that they don't have to get out with wet feet and risk slipping to get their bathrobe. It's there's a lot of little things involved in assisted living. It isn't always major care. We have several residents that we provide very minimal care for. Most of them all have medication management, because you're taking 10, 12 different medications and you're trying to manage it yourself.
Morning, noon, afternoon, bedtime, dinner.
Accidents are going to happen. When accidents start happening where medications aren't given, health starts to fail. As health starts to fail, you end up with a bigger problem than you would have.
Taking the small steps to manage that.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, so now at Marquette House, and when I went over to visit you, we've had a meeting before. I wanted to see what you were doing with the property, because a lot of people come to me and they say, where should I go, or what are my options, and this has changed in my life, and this is what I'm looking at. So it's important for me that I know what housing is available in Westland. Okay, so when I went over, I was very impressed, mostly though because I think housing is something, and when talking to you, it was so important for you that the quality of life, that, how that getting up every day should be something fun. It should be adding to your experience, your life experience. And I really think that comes, your personality is reflected in the property. I think anybody who's in charge of any area, their personality comes through. So I really enjoyed going over and seeing what was going on there and all of the big improvements. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Sure. Yeah. So we've done a lot of work, and we still have a lot of work left cut out for us, but
one step at a time.
Right. Yeah. How to eat the elephant, right? One bite at a time.
That's right.
I keep telling myself that. But we have really made it a lot further along in our plans in a short amount of time than we thought we would. So we're pretty excited about that. The community needed a facelift somewhat, and we needed some change, so we started out by renovating a floor, and then renovating the lobby, which we just completed last week.
Oh, I'll have to come over.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, you're gonna have to come to see it. It's
beautiful.
I'm really happy with the way it turned out, and so are the residents and families, which is really,
more people hanging out in the lobby.
So with the TV I told you about, yeah. So we put the TV up last week. Huge TV, and we put a Netflix account on it, and every morning now when I come down, there's 8 to 10 people sitting there watching a movie or watching a show or something like that.
You know what?
Which is,
a lot of people will go TV, sit people in front of TV, but the thing is that rather than sitting up all by themselves in their room,
right?
Okay, they're down there socializing, meeting other residents, and I mean, it's a really good thing. So a lot of people might frown on that, but it's a big TV.
Well, and it's only part of what we do too.
Right.
Right.
No.
I mean, they're doing other things, but
we're going to talk a little bit about
that. Right. But it's they had really nothing.
Right. Nothing.
I mean, they had a TV up on the 3rd floor. It was a small TV. They did movies there. But with the Netflix account and with like this being a smart TV, there's so many different things that we can do with that. And then what we've also seen is that there might be a group of people that came down to watch TV. They might not like what's on, but since we added so much more lobby seating, comfortable lobby seating, they'll just mosey over to a different part of the lobby and have coffee and have their own little morning session or whatever you want to call it over there.
Coffee clutch.
Yeah, coffee clutch, right. So, it's been nice to kind of see the evolution of how everybody's going through the building and doing different things with the different areas that we've, created. We're going to be getting some bookshelves so we can add kind of a small library. We noticed that was something the building didn't have, or really any form of books for the residents to read. I
can help you out with that. We have a lot of donations.
I'm going to take you up on it.
Okay.
Because we're starting from zero on that one. But, so we, then, for example, the 2nd floor, we renovated all the common areas, and then we renovated all the rooms. We took the toilets from, the low toilets, which are not only hard for seniors, but, hard for a lot of people to get down off of. Right. And, we replaced them with, the higher, more ADA appropriate toilets, and that's been a big hit for the folks that were already on that floor. But we renovated every apartment on that floor with new carpet, new paint.
Are you going then floor by floor?
Floor by floor, right? So we did I think we then skipped to the 4th floor, and right now they're working on the 3rd floor, and then we're going to do the 5th floor. And I think one thing to point out, the Marquette House, before we rebranded it, had a memory care upstairs, and as the Westland House, we're no longer doing the memory care piece. And frankly, it's because in our opinion that it was not a purpose-built memory care, and if we're going to do memory care, we want to make sure we have the best programming for those folks and the best environment, and it's not necessarily possible there with that physical plant. So we're making that our higher need assisted living floor, because it has a nurse's station. We can staff more people up there, and it's got hard floor for accidents and things, and it's still home-like and feels good, but there's just some different things in place to help us provide care for people who have a much, much higher need on that floor.
Okay.
So that's one change that I definitely wanted to make sure that I've got to talk about for a minute. But as far as the aesthetics of the building, those are easy things, right?
But why is that important?
Well, it's because it's people's home. I mean, I like my home to look good.
That's right.
I'm sure you like your home to look good, right? So I don't think just because people are old, I don't think that makes them not want to live in a nice place anymore.
You are absolutely right.
Right.
Yeah.
So if my mom was going to live there, then that's the kind of place I want it to be, right?
Well,
So
it's set up so that it has a huge area on every floor. So, I mean, and you have plans for those areas on the floors, which is really nice because it's added community space where, people can go, which I think is great. I like the way that it's the setup. And like you said, the aesthetics, I mean, that's an easier fix.
It is.
So, yeah.
Give every place a purpose.
Okay.
Don't waste the space.
What about the dining room?
So the dining room is going to also get renovations. And, one of the things that a lot of feedback and survey information that we get from seniors, which, as a matter of fact, just a month ago, we sent out 7,000 surveys to
that's
Westland
good.
seniors.
I think that's really good.
Right. And, listen, we got to listen to the people. We got to listen to the customer to be able to give the customer what they want.
That's exactly right.
I mean, it's really not rocket science. I like to say that it was, but it's not. But we, when we survey people and when they do, there's national surveys that support this too. One of the things in senior living that people complain the most about is their dining experience. And when you really back into it, a big part of the reason why they complain about the dining experience is because they're eating in the same restaurant, very similar food, 3 times a day, 365 days a year. The artwork never changes. The table positioning never changes. The food sort of changes, but it doesn't change a lot, right? So what we're working on at the Westland House and what we try to do in our projects is create a way that we can transform the dining room somewhat, and if we want to have a themed night, we can
Italian,
different tablecloths, have some Italian music playing in the background. If it's Mexican, maybe we try to find a mariachi band that'll come in and play a little bit for dinner, and have different color menus and, we can't change the venue, the bricks and mortar much, but we can try to adjust it. And even if we get close or have just a little bit of a difference, it's still different. We shake it up a little bit, you know. And can we do that every single night? No, right? We run out of different themes.
Right.
But if we throw it in there a couple times a week and have a little bit of fun, I mean, again, just because people are aging doesn't mean they don't want to have fun or they don't want to laugh.
No, but when you can't play volleyball or golf anymore or something, a huge focus is on a dining experience.
Yes.
So, I mean, and that's what you look forward to. What's for lunch? What's for dinner? I mean, even though we have congregate meal, which isn't like by any means prepared by a chef or, but the thing is everybody calls and says, what's on the menu today? They want to know, what are we having for lunch? All the time. So I understand that experience is huge in their day. And I really commend you for wanting to make that something special, because I think the quality of life and living every day is important. So
agreed.
That's great.
Agreed.
Okay, so I think that's wonderful, and having a good menu, and a delightful food, and do they so they have 3 meals a day as well then, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. Yep. 3 meals a
Breakfast,
day.
lunch, and dinner. Okay.
3 meals a day. They get weekly housekeeping. And this is the part we call the laundry list, right? These
what
are a
is
lot
the
of
laundry
things.
list?
These are a lot of things that they're gonna get. If they go anywhere, right? They're gonna get in assisted living 3 meals a day, laundry, housekeeping, and activities, right? That's great. What's more important is the content of each one of those.
Agreed.
That's where the rubber meets the road, right? So,
Yes.
that's where we really try to. Again, by surveying the local seniors, not seniors from somewhere else in the country, but 7,000 seniors in this Westland market. By surveying them, we can get to know them and their likes and dislikes, and really try to plan programming, meals, activities, events, which we had our very first event Saturday, and it was a staff event combined with a resident event. Staff brought their families, their kids. We had a bounce house, a dunk tank, and we had a food truck with barbecue, and it was incredible. I mean, we had the best time doing this with the staff and laughing with the kids, and just having a carefree Saturday. And it was a great chance for the staff to have fun with the residents.
Yes.
Without there being the care element, sit and eat with them. I mean, when you sit down and you eat with someone, you break bread with them, you can learn a lot about them, if you care enough to ask the questions and get into a good conversation with them. And we saw a lot of that going on Saturday, which, those are the steps that it takes to lead to the culture that we're trying to get there, where it's not people working there and caring for other people. It's almost like family working together to take care of family.
Yeah.
So, and it doesn't happen overnight.
No.
It's a work
Bonding
in progress,
experience,
but
yes. No, that's great.
stay the course and we get there.
Okay, so what about people, and often people are a little bit scared off as far as being able to afford assisted living. And I always tell people, you may want to go independent, but if you live long enough, you may end up in assisted living, and sometimes it's important to think about that when you're considering a move, how old you are and kind of how you're aging. So let's talk about the cost of it and what programs you're involved with, the waiver
Certainly.
program and aid and attendance.
Right. So I'll start out by saying, so NIC, National Investment Center, is one of the largest senior housing associations in the country, and they have the most data, and they spend the most on doing research and surveys. And they came out with a report, I think it might be 2 years ago now, of this middle America. They call it the forgotten middle. So the forgotten middle is the largest segment of seniors that are going to be aging into our population of assisted living.
Yeah.
And most of the facilities, it's either you see a lot of government funded, bare bones, but still provide good care, right? And then you see a lot of
very expensive
Taj Mahal, just over the top, right? So, and our philosophy is that, really, well, I don't know if I call it a philosophy, but one of our thoughts is a bowling alley, a bistro, a movie theater, those are all great things, right? And the adult children really love them.
Right.
Right? But the person that has the problem, that needs the problem solved, I've been doing this my whole life. I've never had anybody ask me if we have a bistro or a spa or a bowling alley or a movie theater.
Right.
But I have asked them if we can take care of, mom and make sure that she's, clean, and we keep up after accidents and make sure her meds are okay, and get her to the doctor and call them if there's a problem. And, those are the real
care about mom.
Right. Those are the real problems and things that we need to solve for them, because
and those are their concerns.
Those are their major concerns, and we always talk about the residents, and that, obviously they're very important, and we love on them and we want to take care of them, but we can't forget about these adult children either,
who worry every day.
Well, and most of the time it's if there's a lot of siblings involved, most of the time it's the adult daughter that has to take care of the loved one.
Yeah, I can.
Right, and then and not only do they have kids at home, they have a spouse at home, and but let's not forget, right? They also work, usually 9 to 5, and they're having to care for mom, then the kids, and it really can put a strain on all their relationships.
It's a lot of stress.
And build resentment, possibly, right?
Yeah, especially if they're the only one doing it.
Correct, correct.
So, and often you see that.
Yeah, so and a lot of times people don't think about them, and how this is affecting their life. And again, our customer, yes, is the resident and the loved one that they move in. But we also try to take into consideration the feelings and what that adult child is going through, so that we can help lift that burden, and then that way they can come and just enjoy time with mom or dad.
Right.
And bring the grandkids in and enjoy time with mom and dad. We can give them a little update on the care, and then they get to go back home to their kids, to their husbands, to their wives, and enjoy their life the way it should be, and enjoy their time with mom or dad the way it should be, and not be work.
And really, that's huge. I can tell you, just because I was in that caregiving thing, and even though I didn't have a spouse at home, was like working every day and then leaving Friday going to take care of, it was my mom originally, now my dad. And so, I know that I worry when I'm not there. I worry about care, about falling, and while you can't prevent all accidents, and even in assisted living, there is assistance, but anybody can fall, anybody can, and that's going to happen because you're looking at a very frail population. However, the care and the concern is the number one thing. Preventing bad things from happening is certainly a big part of it, but you can't prevent all things from happening. But knowing that somebody loves your mother or your dad like a great friend or family, certainly they're wanting the best, and you're not worried that they're going to sit in something for hours at a time and not to ever tell you. You go home and you can focus on home, your other children or your adult children or your grandchildren or whatever you're dealing with. Life.
Yours.
Yeah, your own life.
Right.
That's right. It's hugely important. So let's talk about the aid and attendance. Okay, and the Michigan waiver.
All right. So, and I do want to touch, you asked about the affordability piece, so we have, I just want to put out there, we have semi-private rates starting at $2,600, we have private studios at $3,800, we have one bedrooms that start at $4,100, and then two bedrooms that start at $5,200. So yes, that sounds like a lot of money. And, in our industry, it seems like a lot of people are afraid to talk about the money part, even though it doesn't make it go away.
Right.
And it's one of the top concerns of the person that's sitting across the table from you.
Right.
We, again, try to stay in that affordable middle market. We call it Joe and at the lunch bucket, the people that built this stable nation, right? And have worked hard all their life and saved and know they're not wealthy, but they have enough money to maybe live there 2 or 3 years. And then if they need some financial assistance after that, that's where the aid and attendance comes in, the MI waiver. And, we have good partnerships with providers for the waiver that turn it around very fast for us. We just got someone approved in, I think, 5 weeks. Which was fantastic. And then as far as the VA aid and attendance goes, one of the major misconceptions of the VA, and I'm very sad to admit that early on in my career, I fell victim to this by leading people wrong because I didn't know this one fact.
Okay.
So when you are in an assisted living and you apply for the VA aid and attendance, the costs of your assisted living, medicines, healthcare are 100% deductible from your income, right?
Okay.
So, for World War II, the income cap is right around, I think, $2,700, I believe. Let me double check my little sheet. Yep, I nailed it.
Okay, good.
So, excuse me, $27,000.
Yeah.
So, if you didn't know that simple fact that I just said before, what would you think, right? Okay, well, what's your income? $30,000 a year. All right, well, you don't qualify. I made that mistake for years early on in my career. And, learning that is not the case. So if you have assisted living and let's just say the assisted living costs $42,000 a year, and you only are making, your income now is maybe $20,000 or maybe your income is $40,000, right? Well, if your income is $40,000, you're in assisted living, and you can deduct that all. Well, now you have a negative number or a flat number when it comes to applying for the VA. So as long as you fit the, you had to be a wartime vet, and there's specific wars have different numbers associated with them. But the main things that we need to help people find out if they qualify. Oh, sorry, I touched the microphone. To help people find out if they qualify is, their DD-214, their discharge papers.
Yeah.
And then they need to be willing and understand that they're going to have to, be very transparent with us with their finances and any investments they have and things like that if they want to get an accurate number. If we have that information, the war they were in, the time, which is all on the discharge papers, then what we did is we created a worksheet. And we punch in the war, when they served, and then we put in their financial information and then the cost of the assisted living, whether they're coming to us or somewhere else.
So you help people who won't necessarily be a resident with you.
Yeah, we help anyone.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, we've built a business around understanding our customer and helping people, not just our customer. So we really like to stick to that. And, whether they come to us or not, it doesn't matter. We've helped someone get into a better situation. If they need assisted living and maybe our place isn't an option because we're not for, people have preference, right?
However, I will say, and just for people out there, if you have good finances, okay, or whatever, nursing home costs are about $6,000,
right?
Okay, a month, and that's for your average, mediocre, anybody. So you're looking at getting more care in assisted living than you'd ever get at the nursing home, because they, you know what I mean. I'm just saying. There are things where you have to have skilled nursing care. I get that.
Sure.
Okay, but you have a floor for that. People who really need that. I'm saying, I would say borderline. People could live there and qualify kind of for both. You know what say
sure.
They're nursing home bound. Okay, so your highest skilled people are on your floor. Okay, I'm saying probably better care, more one-to-one.
Well, I think it's, in nursing homes, they're much more staffed, but they're doing IVs, they're doing
And they're
ostomy
buried
bags
in care and bookwork.
And bookwork, right. The difference with assisted living is yes, we still provide the care, but then we have, programming and things on top of it. And we have, the staff has much more time to interact with a resident, or if a resident's having a bad day, sit there and listen about the bad day.
Right.
And try to get them through whatever they're going through that moment, because they don't have a million bells and whistles going off, running from end to end, changing bedpans and all these kind of things that, are outside the scope of what we can do in assisted living.
Right.
Now that said, if a resident lives with us and they end up needing some of that, there's a lot of times where we can bring hospice in, and hospice will help, keep up on the skilled type care, because they can do skilled nursing services in an assisted living under their license. And most times people are able to age in place.
Right.
Not always.
Right, not always.
And we always have to, sometimes the right decisions are the hardest ones, but if people need a higher level of care that we can't provide, then we got to bite the bullet, and we have to explain to the family that for their safety, and their well-being,
right,
this is no longer appropriate. And those are tough conversations to have.
But necessary sometimes.
But frankly, almost every conversation you have with someone about coming to assisted living is a tough conversation.
Sure.
I've never met anybody that's doing cartwheels coming and ready to move into assisted living. Nobody ever wakes up on a Saturday morning and looks over at their spouse and says, "Hey, honey, today's a great day to go look at assisted living. We don't need it, but let's just go."
Right. Nobody.
That never happens, right?
No.
If they got in the car and they drove there and they got out of the car and they walked in, something happened and they have a need, and it's our job to figure that out.
Okay. If somebody, all right, so you have the aid and attendance and you participate in the Michigan waiver. If people want to get a hold of you, get a hold of Westland House, you have Wanda there now. Okay,
Yep.
Wanda's great. And so how would they get a hold of you?
So a couple things. So calling Wanda, and you'll have to forgive me because I get nervous with all this the Showtime and Hollywood stuff we got going on here. So the phone number at the Westland House is 734-326-6537, and Wanda is the administrator.
Yeah.
She can help answer any questions. She can help you with the VA. She can help you with the MI Choice. And then we also have our website, www.thewestlandhouse.com.
Saw your commercials on TV too.
And we have commercials on TV.
Yeah.
We got ads in the paper, and people will be seeing a lot of things about events and activities going on that we want people to come to. I mean, we're very lucky to be able to partner with the best senior center that I've had the pleasure of working with, and with you, who have just been a tremendous help and resource to us. Thank you very much for that. And I feel like we're really lucky to be in the position that we're in, and we're lucky to have found this community and this project to give it another chance.
Well, I will tell you, Westland is a great community. So
It is.
Welcome to Westland, and I'm coming over to see your stuff.
Good.
And I'm anxious to see all the wonderful progress. I was really impressed the last time I was there, so
Thank
I'm
you.
looking forward to coming over. So thank you, Chris Schott, and thank you and our viewing audience for being with us today.